Well, how's it going today, YouTube? With TikTok supposedly going to be completely and totally shut down here in a few days, YouTube's gonna be the only place that I will be posting like full-length videos of what I've got going on with projects and such. I'm gonna give you guys a quick little update on the Supercab project and where we're at with that. So, a good friend of mine, he works at the local welding shop that is doing the shortening of the bed, and I will try to put a picture in here. The bed has officially been shortened from the long wheelbase to the short wheelbase. Headache rack is tacked back up. I suspect by mid-afternoon today that they will be finished with that, because all they had to do was finish welding the headache rack in, cut the old taillight panel off, form a new one, weld that on, and then the truck's got to be delivered. Something that is worth making mention of, or making a note of, is that the Supercab project has been very, very slow going. I ordered the Sky Off-Road reverse shackle kit to run the OBS springs, and that hasn't even shipped yet. They said it was a 2-week lead time, or up to 2 weeks lead time, and we're pushing the 2-week mark now from when I ordered that. Local tire shop here in town, we got the tires on order for that. I have a couple little things I got to pick up for the truck yet. I need to get up to the local Napa store to get new front U-bolts, because I cut the old ones off when I started going through the axle. The Dana 60 that I've been rebuilding is about halfway done. I got to do the other side's ball joints, put new gasket sealer around the differential cover, let that dry, and then top it off with diff fluid. Just running some standard 80-90 weight gear oil. I got the phone call yesterday that they were starting in on the flatbed, and within, I'd say, an hour and a half, they had already shortened the bed up and did most of the work. So I went ahead and jumped on tearing the pickup apart in preparation for that. So I will give you a quick little walk around and explain what I got to do rear suspension wise that I was hoping I was going to have done prior to the flatbed going on the truck, because the truck will have to go there so they can set the bed on, get everything squared on it, get everything just perfect, weld up the brackets that are going to bolt it to the frame, and then I'll bring it back home here to the farm, where inevitably I will have to take the bed back off the truck so I can do the stuff in the rear that I want to get done. So let's go ahead and I'll show you that. So bed's off, got the old fifth wheel plate that was bolted on off the frame. Got the rear bumper off. I got to do a few little things, like right here is one of the bolts that went in for the rear bumper. I got to grind that flush. And yes, you guys can see the rust, and I'll talk about that in a second. Coming around to the other side, same deal. I got to finish cutting this bolt out because rust. This truck, if you didn't know already, is rusty. It is a rusty old farm truck, and that's perfectly fine for what we got going on with the truck. But all four corners, or all four spring hangers, need replaced. This is the best one out of them all, and there's a lot of rust that needs to be taken care of. There's a lot of dirt and whatnot on, you can see all the dirt, mud, chunks of rust hanging out on the top of these cross members here. You can see the shocks are rusty, which is fine. That's all getting replaced. I originally thought I had a leaking fuel tank, because every time you'd fill the front tank up here, it would be puking fuel back out of it. And I just come to find out that the hose clamp right there, where the fuel neck attaches to the tank, was not securely fastened. So that solved that problem. The rear spring hangers here, if I can get zoomed in on it good, you can see how crusty and rusty they are. There's a giant gaping hole there. It is rotting off. That is not safe to tow with. This one being absolutely, without a doubt, the worst. The rear spring hanger is trashed as well. I did figure out that it was the driver's side with the broken rear leaf spring, as you can see that right here. It is no good, no good. And then the front spring hanger here also is rotting off. You can see all the flaking rust coming off of here. So rear suspension, I have a set of 99 to 2004 rear Super Duty leaf springs. Ordering new shackles, new hangers for all 4 new hangers, plus new rear shackles, because the rear leaf springs I got are really low mild, really good shape rear leaf springs. The bushings are original and they are in fantastic shape, so I'm not even going to mess with that. My big plan was to take the bed off this truck, take it to a coin-up car wash, and hot blast the entire rear of the truck and get as much of the dirt and crap and crud out of it. Bring it into the shop, crank the wood stove up, knock all the rivets off with a torch, punch all the holes out, clean them all up good, hit it with a wire wheel, hit it with a grinder, and clean all the old crappy, crusty, rusty crap off the frame. Shoot it with some paint, bolt new hangers on, bolt the springs on, and everything else. But the issue is I can't do that yet because I ordered a set of 4-inch rear blocks that Sky Off-Road makes that allow the U-bolts to travel through the block itself and help keep the axle nice and tight and fastened to the leaf springs. I can't do that because I do not have the hangers yet, I do not have the shackles yet, and I do not have the rear blocks and rear U-bolts yet. I'm also going to talk a little bit about front suspension, because in the reverse shackle kit that I ordered from Skies, they also have the Bilstein 5100 series shocks, which is the best shock you can run on an OBS Ford, unless you do like custom suspension and are running like a King coilover or a Fox coilover. I believe the 5100 series Bilstein shocks are the best. Out back here, we're going on the cheap. We're going to run some Monroe gas shocks. They're heavier duty style that you can get off a Rock Auto. With the flatbed being just about finished up, like I said, I expect it to be done today. In fact, the truck might even be dropped off to them today. They're going to need to be able to set the flatbed on, get the fuel necks mounted to the flatbed. They're going to need to build mounts for the flatbed. I suspect they'll use, one of these holes here on the frame as their start point for the front mount. Probably use one of the holes right here over top of the frame for the middle, and one of the holes here in the rear frame for the rear mount. So what will happen is the flatbed will come back off of the pickup. I'll just pop the bolts back out, lift the flatbed off because it won't have tail lights wired up when I bring it home. I'll just have some magnetic lights because I got to tear into all the wiring in the back and fix that. I had an issue with tail lights in the pickup, and I think my issue is this adapter for a trailer plug. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be your factory trailer wiring here. And so my assumption is this wire here was originally supposed to be tied to here, and this is your factory trailer wiring. I'm going to attempt to have all the factory original wiring be functional as it should, but I had an issue where my turn signals were feeding back through each other, and I think that was happening in this adapted harness here. So I got to work on getting this torn off and see if I can make all the factory lights work as they should. The flatbed does not have a receiver hitch on it, so the receiver hitch that's on the frame is going to stay. The frame is in good shape. Surprisingly enough, I have smoked it with a dead blow in multiple different locations, and it seems to be solid. And the other thing to mention is this is not a show truck. It's not going to be a show truck. I don't have any big, huge plans other than this is the daily driver, this is the workhorse, this is the beater. This truck just needs to be good enough to tow my fifth wheel camper about 15-20 minutes away. 20 minutes away is where the county fair is. It's got to pull a stock trailer that far, and it's got to beat around the pasture. And this truck is going to be perfectly fine for that. If I wanted to build a show type truck, like I mentioned on my Instagram post, I wouldn't have started with a truck this rusty. I would have poured over it and really kind of made sure everything was kosher before I started. It is worth mentioning, I only gave $900 for this pickup. And I drive it, and it runs flawlessly. If I ever got a wild hair up my ass to like really make this something into a nice pickup, I would probably completely strip it down, sandblast the frame, probably find a good clean cab. It's worth noting that the Ford F-Series cabs in this body style are all the same. So this is an F-250 Supercab short bed. I could go find a two-wheel drive F-150 that came out of Arizona, and that cab and bed would bolt directly on this frame, and I could have a rust-free cab that way. The VIN numbers for the trucks are attached to the actual dash, and there's not a VIN plate itself on the cab. So I could always find a nice rust-free clean cab, have all the cab work done, and never have to worry about dealing with a VIN number swap in that retrospect. That's something that's nice about this series of pickups. That's kind of the only update I got for you right now. Like I said, I'm just waiting on parts at this point. It's kind of like a kid on Christmas, you know. You wake up Christmas morning and you're all excited. That's where I end up being at right now, is I'm just blatantly waiting on parts to show up. I can't do much. I'm not going to put new tires on the truck yet, because with the front suspension on the TTB axle so completely shot and dog tired, worn out, the 285s that I've got on order for it will rub really bad. So that's kind of where we're at so far. Like I said, I just got a few things to order from Rock Auto, and I got to go to Napa to get some U-bolts for the front. And the flatbed will go on. I won't take the flatbed back off until all the parts are here. So the flatbed will go on, and I'll be able to get the wiring figured out for the taillights, get that deep dive done, and I'll be able to drive the truck with the flatbed on it and have it look significantly better than that old beat up bed that was on the truck. When I take it to the welding shop, I am going to hit it with a pressure washer at the car wash and try to get all the crap cleaned off the fuel tanks and cross members, and try to get all the old rust blown off of it as best as I can so that it's nice and clean for them. And then, yeah, when parts get here, the bed will come back off, and we'll put the whole works on jack stands. And I probably will do rear suspension stuff first so that I can drop the bed back on it and then tackle the front suspension, because that's going to be the most involved suspension wise, because I'm going to have to completely have the entire front end up in the air. I got to take the front bumper off to do everything. The rear suspension is going to be relatively simple. I'm going to drive the truck until it literally runs out of fuel, so that there's no gas in the tanks, because I'm just going to blowtorch there's 6 rivets, 1, 2, 3 on either side. I'm just going to cut the rivets off with the torch, pop them out, come over here, cut the 4 rivets off the back with the torch, pop them out, cut the old U-bolts off with the death wheel, and the whole leaf spring and everything is just going to come out as one unit. I'm going to keep the shock, these original shocks on it, just to keep the axle from moving around, and I'm going to do one side at a time. Hopefully I can make that work, because the 3/4 ton Ford pickups run a 2-inch rear lift block, and obviously, like I said, I'm going to a 4-inch lift block that would be factory for a 1-ton truck. The leaf springs I got for the rear are out of an F-350 Super Duty, so they are 1-ton rear leaf springs. They had a set of overloads, but this truck doesn't have the overload stops. They would have bolted in right here in these 4 holes, front and rear. Since this truck didn't come factory with overloads, I don't have the overloads to put back on it. So not something I'm going to worry about too much, but I'm going to cut the old spring hangers off. We'll hit it with a grinder wheel, clean the frame up good, throw some paint on it, make it look a little nicer, and you know, have the rear suspension handled, the rear suspension done first, then we'll move to the front suspension. But I wanted to keep you guys updated on the truck, how everything's going. It's going to get cold today. The high was like 42 degrees, and it's supposed to be down to single digits by the end of the day. So wanted to come out here this morning while I'm still fairly decent out and show you all the rusty crap that I'm dealing with on a pickup. I've had a lot of people say over a lot of years that rebuilding a pickup is cheaper than having a truck payment, and I'm kind of to the point of, let's prove that, shall we? So far I figured it up. I'm gonna have like ballpark $600 to $6,500 into this pickup, you know, $6,000 to $6,500. And that's all said and done. That's all new brakes, tires, all new steering ball joints and everything in the front axle, all the suspension into the rear axle done, all the suspension in the rear done, all the suspension in the front done, plus the flatbed work. I'm gonna have about, you know, $6,500 into it. And to be perfectly honest, it would be very hard for me to find a nice, honest, reliable truck with everything touched that I'm talking about for that $6,000 mark. So in my mind, the OBS Ford pickups are a good, honest pickup. They're very simple and easy to work on. There's not a whole lot that goes wrong with them. And at the end of the day, this body style Ford pickup is becoming very popular. Ones that are in super, super, super nice condition are going anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. If this truck was a 100% perfect, spotless, and just mint in every way, this would be a $30,000 pickup. Ones that are in rough condition, diesels are the most expensive ones, but ones that are in rough condition, you know, I could have bought this truck for $5,000 the way it sat. So the fact that I got, you know, I'll have 6,000 into it, maybe a little more, you know, there's always things that nickel and dime you a little bit, but you know, to have this truck done the way I'm talking about having it done for about $6,000 is a pretty good, you know, investment in my mind. At some point, I would love to find a crew cab dually 5-speed OBS power stroke that I would Super Duty axle swap, convert it 4-wheel drive, and have that be my go-around tow pickup, and that one can just, you know, continue to be the old winter beater. Which is why I'm not doing any cosmetic stuff. I'm just fixing what needs fixed. The bed was junk. I like flatbeds. So I took the flatbed I owned, paid to have it shortened, and that's what we're going to go with. So until next time, friends, follow me on Instagram. I'm going to try to post a lot more frequently on there of this stuff. It'll be mostly pictures, of course, not so much video footage. And stay tuned, subscribe, like here on YouTube. As I get the parts here, we'll do an unbox video where I will explain what part is what, how it goes together, and everything else. And I will take a short video to put on YouTube here of the truck with the flatbed on. So be looking forward to that. And like I said, until next time, friends, thank you for watching. And if you want to see more, go ahead and like. Tell your friends. I don't expect this channel to really go anywhere, but you never know. So that's where we're at. Like I said, I'm going to try to splice in a picture of the flatbed, and that might be right here at the end of the video. So we'll see you next time.